So with this chapter of My Hero Academia, we had this very kind of sad moment in the Todoroki household of just looking at Endeavor just stare at himself, look at his life, look what he's done, and it's like, oh look, all of your past like misdeeds and like all that you've done to your family has finally come to haunt you, and it's going to be a permanent thing on his, like, not only on his physical body but on his heart as well, as he is trying for this chapter, and especially with that ending as well, with setting up some stuff with like one for all and all for one. But it's like this chapter was definitely a Endeavor massive chapter about him, and showing the repercussions of what he's basically had ever since he tried to go into like the high-end Nomu, which let's get into. So one thing to get straight away from the chapter as well is that Endeavor has seemingly recovered and all that. However, there is a consequence for this where it's like he hasn't lost the ability of his eye. That was the main thing that everyone was trying to like sort out and all that. It was like, no, we need to go and get that back. But his whole face, like his right hand side, like you think Shoto's one is really bad, like you think his one is really rough, like you look at Endeavor's one and it's like it's all the way up to his forehead, all the way down to like passing his chin, and I'm like, that looks horrendous. And it's like he's got to like pretty much, he was like in a critical condition for the most part. It was thanks to like that and Recovery Girl and a bunch of other people. One thing interesting, Best Girl Mirako, who was only appeared recently, she pretty much went, oh, by the way, I need to like go and make sure the league like, you know, is not to some schemes and all that. I'm gonna go look for them, and she pretty much just disappeared. So hopefully Best Girl is alright. I kind of hope that for this situation, but we're gonna have to wait and see about that. Which decides that like Endeavor is seemingly moving back with his family for the most part, where it's like he's there talking to Hawks for the most part. He's like, you know, like he's apologizing for the whole situation. And one thing is like as well that he's trying to talk to him and all that, and he's like, you're killing me here, Endeavor, you need to just let it go under the rug a little bit. Like he's talking about like how his his injuries are his own responsibilities and all that, and he's just like, but he's like sensing something's off and all that. That Nomu came charging directly at us, and on the same day we arrived and all that. It's like, is that a coincidence or anything? And it's just like, Hulk's just like, oh fuck, just don't think about it, man. Just don't worry about it. Like he's like, well, we are the top heroes walking around, and we're in the broad daylight. It's bound to raise some eyebrows. And he's just like, no, that the villains were waiting for us and all that chance. We caught their eye and everything. It's just like. And like Hulk's like, this is why I deliberately appealed to the crowd to make us stand out on the other day, so I have the convenient excuse, you piece of shit. And it's like, I'm in contact with like villains in secret right now, like just, he's like all having this in his head and all that, and he's just like, maybe and all that was spread, like Nomus were just spread around because of the hero hunters and all that, we'll have to notify the league's search team about them and all that. And he's just like, especially when like Endeavor mentions something on the side, he's like, if you're planning on continuing your investigation from here and all that, you should ask someone to cooperate with you, man. Like, you know, even on that enemies of that caliber, you'll be able to stand against it. But there was this nice moment of like, you see Hawks and like kind of like how like his whole proposal was it to in the first place, and like this little bit of trust that he's built again with Endeavor, and actually idolized him. Like he as a kid, he had a lot of respect for Endeavor, because we see that as a child he actually saved a lot of people from like this burning like building. And the one little bit you get to catch a glimpse of this obviously is how like Hawks has been treating him, but you see when he's a little kid, he's actually got a little Endeavor doll right next to him and all that, and he's just like, and everyone was like, wow, instead of saying thank you little boy and all that, it's like, this boy is aggressive tails down, he has to become a hero like that. From now on, I will provide support for him and his entire family. Like, he was pretty much just dragged to become a hero for the most part. And he's like, if corrupting myself is enough to put everyone else at ease, then I'm going to take on this. So a lot of like pressure was being put on Hawks straight away, where he's just like, I want a society where heroes have more free time than they know what to do with. I will make it a reality. In a way, he's doing this for Endeavor, and he's also as well doing this where it's like, in a way where it's like, maybe this might be a good excuse for Endeavor to actually try and fix up his fucked up family, and which cuts to that where we see Shoto, we see Fuyumi, and I believe one of the older brothers, Natsuo, which we look and he comes back and like he's talking to and he's like trying to like fix, he didn't admit and all that, he's like, we're trying to fix this whole family and all that, and it's just like, and Yumi is like I liked her like when we first saw her and all that, because she's just like this really just like shy girl that's trying. Like I think as well, like one of the nice things that you find out in one of the volumes ago is like you actually find out that she's like a teacher for the most part, and she's just like really teaching, and she's like trying to help kids that are not in the same kind of situation that obviously she was and all that, and like obviously what she kind of had to deal with. Like she's the one that's kind of come out the most positive compared to obviously Shoto and Natsuo and Toya. We'll get into fucking talking about Toya in a little bit, but just this really awkward silence of like, it's like, well, you did really good at like dad and all that, good job and all that, and let's leave it at that, and just Shoto just staring. He's like, yeah, that's a big scar you got there, just staring, slurping down like that, and like Natsuo just staring at him, and it's just like, can't you two just say hello, welcome back? We all promised we'd thank him for today, didn't we? And it's just like, you know, and he's either like that. It's just Natsuo. It's just like, I can't fucking do this. Fuck this. Like, he's like, no matter what and all that, he's like, but like, he's like, Dad's trying to reflect on the past and show more concern for his family. Like, just because you hate him doesn't mean you should leave it, well, like, written all over your face and all that. And like, and Deva's like, I can hear you guys. It's like, I can hear you. And no matter what, it's just like, I can't do this, sis. Fuck this. And it's just like, no, if you've got something that's, and he grabs his son. I don't think he's the eldest brother. I think Toya is supposed to be the eldest out of them. Obviously, Shoto is supposed to be the youngest out of all of them, but I think Fuyumi is technically the oldest, like, out of the whole thing. I think she's like 23, 22 or so, and I think Natsuo is probably, I'd either say he's 20 to 19 or something, like, by like how the way he's been acting and everything. And it was like, and he's like, look, you got something to say, kid, just say it. And he's like, say it? You want me to say? That is fucking rich coming from you, Dad, and all that, who wouldn't even look at us and all that in the eye for all these years. You've got some nerve coming back here. And it's like, it's funny and all that. I had no idea that, like, Shoto, like, he's like talking about, like, the thing is, like, I didn't even know until today and all that Shoto's favourite food and all that was, like, just this soba we'd eaten, and you took special care to never let your failures into his life after all, whereas, like, he's harbouring so much fucking grudge and all that, like, against that, and he's just like, because obviously he was raised differently, because he was the one that was supposed to be the hero, and he's just like, don't look at him, Shoto, you're in a different world from like that, and it's like, he's not, like, as he's talking all day, he's like, he's not leaving anything behind. He's not his past or his family, and I know for sure that he's trying to face them head on. He knows, like, especially with this, but he's like, but for whatever reason, Mom and Sis both seem to have no problem really forgiving you, which was one thing I was like, I forgot that, whereas, like, he actually kind of went to visit her, and it's like, we seemingly like saw him like leave some flowers there, but we didn't really get to see that conversation, or if they actually did try to have a talk and all that, and that's probably a big reason why he's allowed back into the house for the most part, because obviously it seems like Fuyumi is technically the head of the household, and there's like, no, Natsu is not having this and all that. You're that crazy bastard and all that, like, we don't know, and they're acting like you've changed, but no, you haven't changed a bit and all that, and it's just like, you neglected us, you left us to listen to Mom screaming and, like, Shoto crying, not to mention what happened with Toya. You go off and beating some strong villain doesn't make all of that just disappear and all that, it's like, and now you decide to have a change of heart. You're a piece of shit, like, he's screaming at him, like, he's losing it at him, and he's like, and he can't really look, and he's like, you're not wrong, like, and he's like, from now on, I'm gonna face my past and atone for everything I've done, and there's, like, he's like, man, fuck this, like, and he just walks out, you ain't having none of this, get out of here, and there's this really sad moment, it's just like, Fuyumi just starts crying, and she's like, Shoto got into UA, we was able to see Mom again, we was making progress, and it's like, Dad approaches and starts like, you know, coming around, and Mom started like, you know, she started being happy again, she started getting a bit healthier, and it's like, I thought we could be like a proper family now and everything, and it's just like, and it's like, you know, she's saying how she was happy and everything for like, you know, for like a youngest brother and all that, and it's just like, when Shoto kind of had, like, Shoto, I felt like in this chapter was the weirdest, like, he comes off, like, really through a lot of this chapter until, like, the very end is, like, very bleh, like, I don't care. Like, obviously he's had more time to kind of adapt to himself compared to, like, Natsuo, compared to Fuyu, and, like, some of the others, and especially he's had talks with his dad beforehand. He's pretty much been forced to work with him and everything, but when you get this scene of like how everyone treated the whole battle, and like some people are like, oh, you know, if it was All Might, he would have been able to take care of that high-end, you know, gear and all that just completely fine. But then others people are like, no, or like Endeavor's awesome, he saved me and all that, and he's a true hero, thank you for everything. And like he's like talking to him and all that, he's like, he's discussed like Endeavor the hero, not his father, but he's like, he's amazing, he's remarkable, but pretty much everything Natsu said was right on the money. I haven't forgiven you for how you tormented Mom, and that's why I want to see what kind of dad that you can come from here and all that. It's like, a little bit of inspiration really can completely change a person. I know that better than anyone, and it's just like, his pretty much where it's just like, yeah, look at the effort that he puts in to become like the #1 hero, even though he got it in the worst way possible, where it's like, this is something I didn't deserve and all that, but you can show that he has a drive, he has a will, he has like, what he can show that this is what he wants to do. He wants to take care, like, he wants to atone for it. He really does mean that. And then even as well at the end of this chapter, he's like, I didn't speak to Natsuo in the right way. He's like, I didn't word it correctly. Now, here's the thing with this chapter though, where this got interesting. They revealed the name of the other kid, which is Toya, which seems to be the middle kid. Which I think a lot of people can put 2 to 2 together and think like who Toya is, and that's Darby. Like, that's kind of where it's going right now, where it's like, this is what happened to him, and it's like, they have still not really addressed what really happened with Toya, but it's seemingly that none of them have been in contact with Toya at all, where it's like they don't know it. The only time frame that we kind of see, because I remember there's like one little flashback panel that we see with the kids when they're really young, and like when they're all like, I'd like to say even younger than like Shoto was. I'd like to say they were probably about 6, 8, and if I'm putting them at, I think like, since like Todoroki's like Shoto is like the youngest one out of them all, like he wouldn't be able to remember like anything really about Toya, so if anything, that would explain why he was a bit weird about Darby, but it's like, I don't remember Toya. I don't really know anything about him for the most part, apart from that he was like, he's I think he's younger than Natsuo, but he's not, yeah, he was the original youngest before, like, obviously, when Shoto was born. So, that's something to add up to, where it's like, we've got this whole drama, and I'm kind of interested to see, like, where that goes. However, like, the chapter ends in a weird way where it goes to Deku, where it's like, let's go and have a look at him, and he's like, I go off training, and he collapses, and then he starts having this weird dream where he's just covered in dark smoke all around him, and like enveloping his body, his hair is glowing, and it's like, next to me I'm seeing Nanashi, I'm seeing like All Might's teacher, I'm seeing behind me people I've never seen before, which we're presuming that they're all the people that inherited, you know, One for All and everything like that, and like All for One, like, and then right at the end of the chapter we see like All for One and all that, like, in like one of all the originals facing off and all that, and it's like, that was something where I was like, holy shit, what the hell is this all about? Are we gonna find the origins finally about these guys and all that? And it's just like, we see the two brothers facing each other, and he's like, why do you stand against me? Just join me in my conquest, my adorable, foolish younger brother. Which we remember, like, where he discussed his brother previously. I think that was one of the recent stuff in the anime as well, where they talked about that, where it's like, he was weak, he was pathetic, and he couldn't really do anything, but he had that little but the power that he had, like, was able to really overcome him. And like, we get to see him like in his original form as well, where it's like, this is before like All Might completely destroyed half his face and all that, and like how he's not on a breathing respirator. He just looks like some evil businessman for the most part. Like, and even with that, he's talking about, I can't forgive you. Not a single fiber of your being and all that. I can't do any of that to like forgive you. So overall, definitely a interesting chapter for the most part. I felt like the Deku part just kind of felt a little weird, just like just coming out there nowhere. I felt like it was a way where it's like it needed a stinger in some way to be like exciting, but I was like, I'm more interested in like the honesty. Like, yeah, we're gonna find out a lot about the all the people and all that, and we're gonna find out about all the inheritors. But I was generally actually interested in like the whole relationship and like the whole family structure of like learning about Toya, learning about like Fuyumi, Natsu. I want to know more about these like all of Shoto's family, because like again, like for the little bits I do know about Fuyumi, it's like how she actually like has this life of her own and she's a teacher. I thought that was kind of like really nice little details. I want to know what Natsu is, how he's been coping with this. The same thing as well, like what's the lays in the future with their mother as well. Like, will she finally ever come out of the hospital? Like and more about like when were they able to really have this proper forgiveness. I want to kind of see some of that stuff more later down the line, but we'll see that definitely on there. But definitely it was a very strong chapter for the most part. I think it has some really nice moments between Hawks, like, and definitely Endeavor like stealing this chapter for me with some of the stuff that they did on that. And I think like the only nitpick I was like, apart from like Shoto's last little moment, I felt like just the way how he was acting was a little bit weird for the good this chapter. But he was like, just don't give a fuck for the most part. But yeah, like the whole family part really made this one interesting. So let me know you guys in the comment section down below. But that's all from me. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you guys though next time.